Hi guys, thank you very much for being here. Polina here talking to you about this incredible new moon in Sagittarius that is taking place on the 7th of December. Today is the 4th of December and it feels to me that you might already sense a silent mind, silence, kind of like maybe even confusion and this kind of maybe sense of awe for some people. For some other people it is lack of understanding. And I hope that you can really bring yourself to enjoying and satisfying yourself in that space. The sense of nothing is actually that which you need to believe in yourself more, and that which you perhaps will soon create into something certain, but as long as you're not fighting it. So the mastery here is actually not to be in care, not to be in a fight with yourself, not to try and contrast or contradict the sense, and also not to try to behave as your previous sentiments have created you. So this is basically the time of the new, the time of the ego, the time to recreate, and the time to completely, also for some people, upheave what was before important. We've got this huge contradiction between Venus and Uranus. We also have this Mercury behind Jupiter and behind the Sun and Moon conjunction. So we have a very, very unique and perhaps for some people very nervous time because you are not you. And that has to be okay, that has to be fine. And this is quite a fragile state for people when they've become very, very, very neurotic about who they think they are, what they think they do, and who they think they will become eventually later in life. One of the best and biggest mistakes actually on this particular moon is to think you are who you are and to create or recreate the same types of stories that you've created with lots of people time and time again, and also to learn the same thing at the same time and not ever let anything penetrate through. So we've created density, and I feel that in density at the moment is darkness. And also in those thoughts and standards and belief systems that perhaps we have, we've got to create space and create opportunity to shake those up. And the reason why is because without shaking up the previous system, we create a lot of space for conflict and also unconscious lies. And we also can breach a lot of that through discarding polarity now, and no longer having to do what other people would suspect. One of the best things actually about this time is not to know at all. Not to know it all and not to know at all. I would actually suggest that one of the best, most clearing types of things you can do on this particular level, on this particular timeline, is actually not face anything with too much pride or arrogance, and also at the same time not to continue learning, doing, and creating where you just don't really want to be. So it's like your feet want to go, follow those feet, follow the rhythm of your heart. One of the best things about this moon also is not wanting to nurture a lot, not wanting to mind too much, and not wanting to actually be there trying to connect and to contain. So that project that you had going for a long time perhaps will now fall out of your hands. And it is as simple as the turning of the heart, the turning of the keys within you, and also negligence of yourself, has to be now fully to the surface. For example, you're creating pottery, or you're writing music, you're making all these different missions and all these visions, but at the same time everything is coming out of your hands. Things are unveiling, unraveling, and perhaps not coming true. If you are feeling that something is wrong, or things are escaping you, your previous gift or your previous idea or your previous situation is no longer feasible or somehow no longer viable, it is a very big blessing to actually come to terms with that. Because when you say, I don't any longer know how to do this, like my hands don't want to, hold this machine the same, my hands don't want to hold my tools the same as they've done before, or if you can see like I'm losing my touch or like I'm losing my soul, you're not actually losing at all. You've come to a mission's end perhaps, and why you might be there is because you don't want to do that anymore. And we don't have to be masters of one thing. Sometimes when something is no longer time, it's no longer time. And Saturn is so strong during this particular transit, and if we are not in time, if we are not in truth, with this Mars Neptune, of the unconscious world, of the ground that we are born from, the true meaning of life, of the true spirit of you, is not really condoning something, if it's not connecting to perhaps a codependent system or rhythm that you've created in your world, perhaps it will no longer work. One of the greatest and best things in mind for this particular transit and others like it is to connect to people that don't want to do what they're doing, and perhaps also take it off their hands. It's actually a very interesting time to see a bored musician and learn, and perhaps also take their gift with you. Perhaps it's so nice here to comment or to be in touch or create connections with people who are doing what you want to do, and to actually really truly start to learn. And yes, when I say learning, this is very mystical learning, because we're not actually just learning through word. We're not learning through books or textbooks or materials. We're actually learning through this unique way in which people can just actually give each other gifts via just auric connection. So you can pick up a gift perhaps from me as we're talking today, if you are genuinely interested in that, which I do. But if you're not, you're not. And that's the thing, is if you're genuinely interested, you can actually start vibrating through and learning vibrationally without having to speak or touch or really understand. One other thing I feel is sacred knowledge. Yeah, sacred knowledge and sacred words, or also sacred and unconscious keys, are here for us all. I feel that on this particular type of energy, on this particular type of timeline, I feel that we can actually remember healing abilities. We can remember what it's like to heal through touch. We can remember what it's like to heal through voice. It just sort of comes in. But the thing here is to make space. Make space. If you're not sure what that means, there is a Russian saying that my mom used to say, and it says, "Пустого места не бывает." So what that translates as is there is no such thing as an empty space. And sometimes to create capacity, extra capacity to enjoy or, to receive, you have to also give back. You have to put back, and you have to maybe burn down or just allow something else to breathe, and maybe no longer hog what perhaps is not meant to be. And why that is important is because to receive, we have to have a space and a capacity to receive. For example, if you have 2 wardrobes full of clothes, how messy is your style? How messy is your sense of self? If you've got a minimalist closet, it is so easy to find new beautiful things to wear, new beautiful styles. It is so easy to change your step, for example, with a suitcase in case of 2 houses worth of clutter. So if you're also in love with your ex and you're trying to fathom your past, please, especially if you are, looking for somebody but you're still holding on to your ex, consider that if your ex is still in your mind and you are completely perhaps saying that you're over this person, but you're still, on the phone with your girlfriends about this person, you're constantly on the roll with this person. And, I have said, and maybe other astrologers said, that love will return, and you're probably counting on that. Please, please, please. If you're not happy with the situation now, and you're looking for partnerships, you're looking for new financial, physical, emotional, romantic developments, it will be so good for you to make space. And how to do that is basically to leave it alone. Leave it alone. Make space. Make a bigger closet for more beautiful things. Make a larger space for achievement. Make more hours in a day for love. Make more hours in a day for art. Make more time in your life for sex. Make more time in your life for travel. What would you do if a person came into your world? What would you do if your financial situation improved? What would you actually do, and how would you show to yourself or prove to your heart that it really mattered? Because capacity is vast. The algorithms that we're playing with are huge. And at the same time, the space that we have to change our life for some people is very, very small. We have to make that space. And one of the best things to do here is to throw away aggressively. For some people, yeah, to throw away, get rid, throw away, you know. One other thing you can do is perhaps politely disappear and be on your own. Another thing you can do here that is very, very easy and very, how stupidly easy, is to call up your friend that you do not actually want to talk to anymore and just tell them, look, I love our chats, but we have to maybe spend some time alone. You could also give your ex the time and space to heal their own wings without having to think about them all the time. You may also be able to benefit here a lot from just living on your own and actually not knowing who you are. If you have the luxury of that, if you have the luxury and the capacity of being just you and just being you in this world, I mean, how boring perhaps for some, but I would probably agree sometimes it is a boring world if you work entirely around yourself. But at the same time, you can really create anything from your life right now. You can create anything from your life right now. It doesn't have to be like art or fashion. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be super rich or well-to-do. It's just about making that time to create space for capacity, for extra capacity to love, extra capacity to be, extra capacity to do what you've actually always wanted to do. It's one of those amazing, even stupidly crazy times, like stupidly crazy times for actual true romance. Like it's true romance in the air. But are you really available for it? And also, like, what is that true, real future that you can imagine here and now? What are the different things that you can actually perhaps imagine you doing, perhaps imagine you creating, you structuring, or you enjoying? Also, if you are thinking about love and romance as something that you just want to attain, or something that you think would give you the best of all worlds, or something practical and something to keep in mind, perhaps you would also see that that's really boring for you already, and it's not actually going to be much better with the other person involved unless you are true. And what I mean is, you perhaps, as a single person, a person looking for love, if you are, have to figure out perhaps what does it actually really mean to be in love for you, and what are these true adventures that you'd like to take yourself on with this other human, and are you available to afford it energetically or time-wise or socially or physically or publicly? Are you able to afford that slice of heaven that you should be able to share with another person when you meet? But by having absolutely nothing and thinking you're very vulnerable, and also being dishonest with yourself, thinking you have no opportunities. Everyone has opportunities during this time. You think you have no opportunities, and for you, love is an opportunity to breathe again, to live again, to heal again. If you are looking at life as a martyr, or you are looking for a martyr in your life, or you're looking for a victim, or you are a victim, or you're looking for a crime, it would be actually very, very obvious, I feel, for you when things are, how can I say, crumbling within you, and you are trying to fix yourself with love. So those people that are trying to fix themselves with love, I would probably really, really suggest not to become addicted to that idea or this version of them and you. But what you can actually really, really create, if you are truly, thinking, very sensitized by the idea of emotional connections and other types of spiritual and perhaps physical, sexual possibilities that we have in this world during a time like this, is you may actually want to perhaps make it as simple as you can. For example, I just really want to share a meal. Now, I would like to learn how to cook, so maybe one day I could cook for you, whoever you are. Or for example, I would really love to expand my world and see what is possible for me. And perhaps through making what's possible for me, I can also make it possible for you, whoever you are. So it's like, basically, it's not looking for the person, it's not looking for the house, it's not looking for the money, it's not looking for the job. It is looking for quality experience. And unless you have the capacity of freedom during this time, sometimes you cannot receive, because the most beautiful and the most abundant quality during this particular spectrum is truly freedom. freedom and staying free no matter who you are. One of the best wake-up calls that I've had for a long time, actually, during this build-up, is that nobody needs you. That's one thing. Nobody needs you, you know. And it is true both ways. You know, you don't need. Nobody needs you. That's one of the best things I've ever, I feel, truly felt and understood. But by saying that, I don't actually mean that nobody needs you. Nobody needs you, you know, in a bad way. It's actually not like that. It's more like nobody needs. Does it make sense? Like sometimes, you know, we've been told, fed by many stories, you know, many TV dramas, you know, many books, or just many people, parents, and, you know, just other figures, archaic figures. You need him. She needs you. Needs. You know, like needs, the needy. Nobody actually needs. Nature, even with the system, you know, that we have, that we've developed, monetary system, financial system, whatever, who cares? Nobody needs. Nature always will eventually find a way. And it's not ever meant to be hard. It's not meant to be hard. We just really liked the story of need because we're babies, you know, we're like infantile as humans. But one of the best things about growing up is actually recognizing that needing doesn't exist, and it's more like a fairy tale. It's more a fairy tale. But by believing that we need, we actually block off a lot of ourselves. Can you imagine? Okay, this is one of the most awesomest things, okay, right now. So it's like, can you imagine that you don't actually really need your job or your place in society? Can you imagine that you don't really need your partner or the partner to be? Can you imagine that you don't really need that much money, or you don't really need, you know, that sort of uncoordinated plan that you've made? Can you imagine that you were perhaps quite infantile when you first designed how your world operates? Can you imagine if, for example, you know, the credit card, the bills, the schooling system, the educational plans, you know, whatever you thought you would be like bossy and strong about, can you imagine if you didn't actually need all of that? Imagine if you like never really needed to, you know, try to look after somebody else. Imagine if you were never actually needed to learn or study anything. Imagine if you don't actually really truly need you to need. And what are you really if you don't need? If you don't need, you might just surprise yourself as to who you might be. Like lay down if you want. Like, you know, like I'm in a hammock right now. Maybe, you know, there's a couple of free hammocks behind me, by the way. Like, I mean, imagine it's like if you completely dissolved how your body feels, you know, what's pulling what, you know, how your fascia is behaving. You just lay down and you like go, do I really need? You know, do I really need? And make alterations. And one of the greatest things during this time, well, it was for a while actually, is that we can create alterations psychically and socially and in the mind, mentally, super fast. You know, you can really super fast fix it all. It's just, you lay down and you go, ha 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 ha, I don't need this. My gosh, I don't have to have it tomorrow. I don't need this right now. You know? My gosh, you know, like, oh, I'm not feeling good, oh, I'm this and that. Okay, but you don't need anything. You don't need anything. There is nobody that's going to come home and mother or father you. Okay, not even the husband or wife that acts as a mother or father. It's not going to mean anything in the end unless you learn not to need. And that's one of the best things I feel about this world, is recognizing the recognition of your gifts. You know, like the gift of love, you know, the gift of being present, this awesome gift of touch, like the gift of life. you know? Like, whoa, you've already got it. You know, you already got it. And if you can actually look at your life and see what's real, like, you real. You know, you're a human being. You're like real as real can be on this planet. And one other thing is that you can also emotionally reverse a lot of your spiritual and karmic damage just by being honest about who you are. When you really look, right? You know, when you really actually look at your world, you might actually be truly astounded when you can be honest. And the question is who you are, really, truly, comes to just one thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, yesterday I was a little thundercloud from memory. And then today I'm like a little rainbow. You know, it's like 2 days ago I was not this. You know, I did not feel so free. You know? And then now I cannot recognize myself. And that's one of the best things that this transit will offer, I feel, to anybody that wants to really, truly take advantage of this time. Because, you know, one of the best things, hands down, about this is that you don't have to be the you that you thought you would be. You can just be the I don't know, just the feeling of uniqueness and non-identity also, and innocence. Because I don't actually think that neither person really truly knows. We're all pretending to know who we are. Okay, and then one of the best things about that is that you don't need to. You don't need to, you know? But like one thing that you will benefit from it definitely deeply is that when you don't know who you are, you're unlimited. When you don't know who you are entirely, except your true innocence, which is the true human state, actually, really, you really open yourself up to quantum potential. Space and innocence. The less you know who you are, the better. The less you expect from life, the better. The less you're obsessed about gain or opportunities or people or answers or money or anything coming from this one specific place, the less you are trying to grill one person for what you think you need or the answers you expect, the more you choose for you later. So what I mean is, unless you're truly set on what you're doing, don't do it. Just try to water down a little bit if you are very dense. But if you are not dense at all, and you perhaps feel unlucky in love, and you're never, ever there, never, ever trying for yourself, you like kind of really washed out, watered down, or you actually like kind of like unambitious, totally unambitious people for totally unambitious people. It's a really good time to start to get a little bit more fiery and ambitious, and ask yourself what you need, because for some of you guys, I feel you're very locked up and you will never ever answer yourself until you beg yourself to tell you what you actually really do want in life. You know? But by saying that, I'm not being mean or dark about it. It's just most of the people that spend a lot of time online or that research this kind of thing sometimes don't know what they want, because they're never quite able to face life, you know, like face 3D, like face the power and the magic and the beauty of the 3D, and also like what I suppose heaven life could be and what heaven can offer you. It is not just in sitting alone studying, you know, it's not in esoterics, and not sitting at home crying or doing some kind of like inner damage for trying to learn more. On occasion, it's just about being innocent and saying, well, what about love? You know, what about lust? What about sex? What about fun? What about cooking together as a family? Like, what about making friends? What about healing yourself through music and art? You know, what about the grander schemes of life? It's not just about business. You got the money, okay, business, what are you gonna do with it? Travel? Why? What's travel? I don't know, it sounds like a good word. Everybody says travel, so I'm just gonna say travel because it's the word people say. No. Travel. Like, have you ever felt it? Have you ever done it? You know, what does it actually feel like? So it's like the tactile nature. The tactile nature of your dreams has to be addressed here, so it's not just like a lucid word. You know, like travel, the lucid word. Okay, I want to travel. But you know, when you say it, it sounds like stress, or it sounds like bags, and it sounds like, negligence of self. So when you're preparing for anything here, I mean, travel, business, anything, you think you want a lot, but how much do you really want? How much do you really want? And I believe, yeah, I think I can see how a lot of people can manifest a lot of like state of the art realities here, where they can make huge money. There's huge money afoot during a time like this. But I feel for you though, even if you make that money, and even if you press a button and it answers you, does it actually feel good? Does it actually feel good? Does it actually feel good to be finally with this person that perhaps just takes your time? Does it really feel good to finally, crack the algorithm, get $1 million, but still live a pretty crappy life? Is it feeling good for you? Is it feeling good for you already, maybe? If it feels good for you already, it would be much better to build on what you've got instead of trying to decide what you want, because truly we were implanted a lot of memories and ideas into our brains that are just hollow and without joy. Without joy. It's like the wedding dress, or the bank account, without joy. Take care of your own family, take care of your own dreams, just take care. And also, like, try not to live the collective psychosis of what other people have grown to want to do, or what other people recommend to each other as the algorithmic joy. So whatever you do, however you've come out through this Jupiter Sagittarius already, I think it's pretty obvious to see. It's very good to know who you are. It's very easy to see who you aren't during this time. And hopeful, hopeful, hope for greater joys